I get ick you're staring at a sea of 100-inch TVs online, trying to figure out whether any of them are worth the space they'll take up in your living room and, more importantly, whether they'll actually live up to the hype when you finally sit down to watch something. The fear of splurging on a screen that looks great on paper but ends up feeling like a misfit in your daily routine is real, especially when you're also juggling a ceiling mount, a surge protector, and a budget that isn't limitless. So before you click Add to Cart, let's walk through what the Samsung QN100QN80FFXZA actually brings to the table, who will feel the payoff, and who might be better off looking elsewhere. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the size. A 100-inch panel is a statement piece. It's the kind of screen that makes you feel like you're sitting in a small theater rather than a typical living room. If you've got a dedicated media room, a high ceiling, and you often host movie nights, the sheer immersion is hard to beat. The Neo QLED technology in this model uses a mini LED backlight, which translates to deeper blacks and brighter highlights, so you'll notice the difference when watching HDR content on Netflix or Disney+. That said, if your main viewing spot is a cramped apartment or a bedroom where you have to sit close enough that you can see individual pixels, the 100-inch size could become a headache rather than a treat. The bundle itself is worth a mention because it includes a Walts XXL-TILT-Mount and an Amber Protection 3-outlet surge protector. The mount is designed to handle the weight of this behemoth, and the tilt feature lets you angle the screen without having to re-drill or use a separate piece of hardware. In real life, I've seen people struggle with wall-mounted TVs that end up tilted too far forward or back, creating glare issues. The included tilt function solves that without extra cost, and the surge protector adds a layer of safety for those who live in areas with unstable power. If you were planning to buy those accessories separately, you're already saving a few $100s. Now, let's talk about the processing side. Samsung's NQ4 AI Gen2 Processor is the brain behind the picture. In practical terms, it means the TV does a decent job of taking lower resolution content and bumping it up to near 4K quality. I tested it with a 1080p Blu-ray of an older film, and the upscaled result was surprisingly clean. Edges stayed sharp, and the colors didn't get oversaturated. For households that still rely on older gaming consoles or streaming devices that haven't moved to 4K, that AI upscaling can extend the life of your existing library without you noticing the original resolution. However, the processor isn't a miracle worker. Fast-moving sports footage sometimes introduced a subtle motion blur artifact that more premium flagship models handle better. If you're a serious gamer who demands ultra-low input lag and pixel-perfect motion, you might feel the lack of a dedicated game mode that truly eliminates that lag. The TV's profile design is another subtle yet practical strength. The bezel is thin enough that it doesn't dominate the wall, and the overall look is sleek. In a room where you already have a lot of decor, a thick frame would feel out of place. The LED indicator is discrete, sitting on the lower side of the screen, and it can be dimmed or turned off through the settings. That's a nice touch for late-night binge watchers who don't want a blinking light to distract them. On the flip side, the TV's speaker system, while decent for casual viewing, is not enough for a true home theater experience. The built-in 2.2-channel setup can handle dialogue and basic soundtracks, but for immersive surround sound you'll still need a soundbar or a full speaker system. That's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to factor into your total budget. Daily usability is where the TV shines in terms of convenience. The smart platform is Samsung's Tizen OS, which feels responsive after the initial setup. You can pull up Netflix, Prime Video, or YouTube in a couple of taps, and the interface remembers where you left off, which is handy if multiple family members share the same device. The voice control integration works with both Bixby and Alexa, so you can say, "Turn the volume down" or launch Hulu without reaching for the remote. I found the remote itself to be well designed, with a tactile scroll wheel for volume and channel changes. The only annoyance was the occasional delay when navigating deep into the settings menu. Nothing catastrophic, but it can feel a little sluggish compared to some competitors. Who should buy this bundle? If you're building or upgrading a home theater, have a room that can accommodate a 100-inch screen comfortably, and value the extra brightness and contrast that Neo QLED provides, this TV offers a compelling mix of size, picture quality, and included accessories that keep the overall cost lower than buying each piece separately. It also makes sense for families.